Okay, let's discuss this whole Kohberger and Showalter and Effort, Pennsylvania thing, shall we?
Is this odd to you or not, y'all? Check this out. So, someone with the last name Showalter has this address, also tied to last name Barnhart. I've shown you before, Barnhart is tied to Kohberger. And look at this. Michael Kohberger and Amanda and Brian and the mother all lived at 301 Matterhorn Drive.
Now that I have found a link to a Showalter family in PA that lived in the same home that Michael Kohberger, the father of Brian Kohberger, lived at, I am worried because now one must wonder, are they blood relatives? And if so, then we have to reanalyze the DNA that was allegedly found on the button of the snap button on that knife sheath.
Oh, lordy. So, one content creator found that address information, then the other took it and claimed she found it, but that's neither here or there. And then, after they both posted their videos, probably within 12 hours, not even 24 hours, it morphed into a game of telephone where people are now saying that the Kohbergers sold their house to a Showalter, or Jack Showalter lived in the same house that the Kohbergers lived in, or Brian left his knife in the house that Jack Showalter's family then bought. And none of that's the case. Let's take a look. Okay, this is the property in question. 301 Matterhorn in Effort, Pennsylvania. And I got on here to find the parcel number so that I could look up further information on it. Okay, so I found the parcel and looked up the sales history, and it's interesting because in 1977 it says that the Edelmans sold it, but then that same couple sold it again in 2000. And the Edelmans sold the property to a person with the last name of Conyers, and then in 2005, that person sold it to the current owner. Now, somewhere along the way, the house that was on that property must have been torn down because all the records I am finding show that in 2000, a new house was built on that property. And the current house that sits there looks like this. And obviously that's not a house that would have been around since 1977. That is fairly new construction. So it appears that that property may have been like a rental house because it was showing that those Edelmans owned it through all that time until that other lady purchased it in 2000, and then the current owner purchased it in 2005. I'm not showing that the Kohbergers ever owned it, or this other person that had been living in there ever owned it. And we can look at the dates when they lived there. So this shows that Kohberger lived in it from December 1983 to April of 2013, and that tracks with when they purchased their house in Albrightsville, because this 2014 is the record of when they purchased the house they are currently in. And this Kendra Showalter is listed having lived at the 301 Matterhorn from January 2020 to October 2022. So the Kohbergers lived in that house 7 years before the person with the last name of Showalter ever lived in it. So no, the Showalter person didn't purchase the house from Kohberger. No, she didn't live in the house at the same time as them. No, there's no indication that Showalter is related to the Kohbergers or to Jack Showalter's family. In fact, I went on Ancestry.com, dug into both of the family histories, Kohbergers and Showalters, and I'm not finding any matches for relatives, nor is that Kendra Showalter from the same line that Jack Showalter's family is from. So there is no relation. And one thing I wanted to show you is how prevalent the Showalter name is in Pennsylvania. So this shows you a Showalter surname distribution, and you can see that most Showalters live in the United States. And there's 12,358 Showalters in the United States. And in Pennsylvania, there's 1,076 people with that last name. So, that's quite a bit in Pennsylvania. So basically what you have is a coincidence. And actually not really that big of a coincidence because there's quite a few Showalters in Pennsylvania. And they aren't related to, or at least that Kendra is not related to Jack. And she lived in the house 7 years after the Kohbergers. This is not a case where the DNA on the sheath was Showalter's. Also, Jack voluntarily gave a DNA sample anyways. So if his blood had been on the sheath, there would have been a match. But the match is to Kohberger, not to Showalter. As far as Nika, a few things to say about Nika. Let's just listen to a few of her rants about Showalter.
A hunter, what do you know? A hunter has a lot of characteristics that a killer should have. Understand that Jack Showalter is a hunter. That doesn't mean hunters are bad people, but it does mean one thing. Let me tell you, I have friends and family who are hunters, and you have to be very skilled with the knife. You have to be very good at butchering the animal, at gutting the animal, and not to mention the whole alibi that Jack Showalter shared on the night of the crime was that he had to leave mid-party to drive to his parents' cabin in the middle of nowhere that was 5 hours away. Now, the fact that his parents are his alibi, I'm sorry, but that's just giving me Gabby Petito vibes.
Okay, first of all, people who hunt, that doesn't mean they're killers. Like, oh, they have the characteristics. Oh, they know how to use a knife. Oh, I grew up around hunters. My family hunts. Okay? That has no correlation to being a serial killer. None whatsoever. I mean, I could say that you sitting there with that K-bar and your former military training means you're one, but that wouldn't be true. So if I were to say that, that would be a lie. And as far as Jack's alibi, law enforcement has never said what his alibi was. People put rumors on social media about his alibi, but nothing's ever been confirmed by anybody official or anybody in the know. So for you to say that his parents were his alibi and that he left and drove to a cabin, when that has never ever been officially made a statement by anyone, it's just ridiculous to rant about something that's a rumor that you heard through the rumor mill that you don't even know is a fact. But let's continue.
Wasn't one of the girls saying "fuck you" straight to his face? And they don't even say goodbye to him. They literally just said "fuck you" and start walking away.
Actually, no. Maddie said that to Jovi Doe. And when the girls left with the private driver, when Jack Showalter starts walking away, when you look at the actual full Twitch stream video instead of the cropped ones, you can see him wave to them as he walks off. So nothing was nefarious there.
But I'm going to tell you something. If Jack was actually supposed to be looking after them, If there was something very dangerous going on, why would he not report it to authorities? Why would he not report it to authorities? Does he not trust Moscow PD? And there we have a whole other rabbit hole. And on top of that, if he knew there was something dangerous going on, and if he is supposedly so close to Maddie Mogan's boyfriend, who was supposedly out of town, why wasn't he in town? Did he also know that maybe there was something very dangerous going on?
Because here's the thing, he didn't know anything dangerous was going on. Now, it had been rumored, again, never confirmed yet. We'll, of course, know if this was true or not at trial, but it had been rumored that Maddie's boyfriend Jake had asked Jack to just keep an eye on the girls. Now, this doesn't mean that it's because of any sort of impending danger. This is kind of common. Well, it is common, not kind of. It is common in college. Like now, I was in a sorority and we would keep an eye out for each other when we go out to the bars or to parties in case somebody got a little too tipsy or somebody was, like it looks like a guy maybe trying to harass them. And we kind of had our own little codes and body language signals that we would send so that somebody knew, hey, come over here and get me away from this, or come help me out here. And a lot of times too, we'd have our guy friends walk us to and from the bars, walk us from different Greek houses. It's just kind of a common safety measure when you're a young woman, especially out drinking. So if that's true that Jake asked Jack to keep an eye out them while they went bar hopping, that's nothing crazy. And it doesn't mean that they knew anybody was going to murder anyone. And as far as why wasn't Jake in town, that's because Jake had already graduated from University of Idaho and had already been working in a job in Boise. He wasn't going to school anymore. He wasn't in Moscow. So let's move on.
From what I have heard and what rumors have mentioned is that he was investigated through the phone. He was questioned through the phone by Moscow PD. Here we have Moscow PD bucking up yet again.
Yes, that is rumors. That is not true. He was not investigated over the phone. He never left the country. People took photos from his mom's Facebook page before she locked it down and tried to say that pictures from Africa from a few years before were Jack currently in Africa after the murders. That's not true. He never left the country after the murders. He was still in Moscow. He was still attending school. He was interviewed in person by police. As I said before already, he voluntarily gave DNA. He fully cooperated. His sister had talked about all the hell the family was put through. They were getting death threats. The parents, they had a medical practice that was being affected by people that were making threats to them there. Jack's sister eventually took down all of her TikToks about it because people were sending her nasty messages. His friends that stood up for him were getting death threats as well. And it's absolutely ridiculous that it has come to that level, that people take it to that level when there's not even any evidence against this young man at all that he was involved in any wrongdoing. Okay, let's talk about some of these other rumors about him. The coyotes. Okay, that was in 2017. Somebody left coyote carcasses on Greek houses' front porches. 2017. Okay. Jack Showalter was a high school student in Boise. He wasn't even in Moscow. He wasn't who did that. He wasn't kicked out of his fraternity. He was still in Delta Tau Delta. He wasn't kicked out of Corner Club that night when he was there with Maddie and Kaylee. All of these rumors about him that people just blindly believe. And it's just ridiculous. So, yeah, let's move on.
But in the very early days, the parents of Jack Showalter did not have a lot of pictures with Jack.
You know why? Because when people started harassing him and harassing his family and sending threats, his mom locked down her Facebook and then removed a lot of their family photos. And to this day, she only has one family photo on there now. Has nothing to do with Jack as far as them, because you went on, I cut the part out, but you went on to say things about him possibly not being, like the good son type of thing, like they're trying to distance themselves from him. No, they had photos of him on there, but people were taking those photos and using them to create wild stories, like the pictures from Africa or his hunting pictures.
John Jack Showalter. I know this is not anything new, so some people get upset. Well, we've already hashed this out. Well, apparently a lot of people forgot about it, and apparently a lot of people are new to the Idaho 4. So I want to make sure, that we understand. That we know Jack Showalter a little bit.
And you wonder why his mom doesn't have any photos up. You really wonder why. Things like this, things like you going, oh, we need to talk about Jack Showalter again because people need to know who he is. And then spreading rumors that he's related to Brian Kohberger and that the knife sheath could have his blood on it and not Kohberger's or his DNA on it, because they may be related and he may really be the killer. That is why people lock down their social media. That is why people get death threats, because content creators like you perpetuate these things about innocent young people. And unfortunately, there's unhinged people out there that listen to these things and think that the person was really involved with the crime, and then they take it upon themselves to harass or threaten the person. So no, it's not okay to bring Jack up again to your audience like that. If they don't know about him, they don't need to get to know about him, because he was cleared by law enforcement and he was not involved in the murders, other than he was one of their last friends to see them alive. And I'm sure that has been horrible for him and all of their friends that saw them that day, in that early morning before they were murdered. But to continue to make these kids' lives hell with all of this useless speculation that's not even based on any evidence is ridiculous. Okay? And then what did you go on to do next? Oh, you got upset because you said he scrubbed his photos and that you claimed he had bushy eyebrows, and then you proceeded to find a photo of somebody that's not even the correct Jack Showalter. That's right. Let's take a look.
Y'all know what I'm talking about, okay? That picture. Bushy eyebrows, in my opinion. Bushy eyebrows, in my opinion. I know you guys have all seen the pictures.
Well, congratulations, because you just used the picture of this Jack Showalter who lives in Georgia. Yeah. Congratulations. Great job. Great job. Must be proud of yourself for that. Now, getting off the topic of Jack, because I've said my piece on that. I had bit my tongue for a while, but then I was like, nope, I'm going to put out a video. I got to talk about this because it's ridiculous how these kids are being treated. But I want to discuss this next thing that you said.
The same people that are defending Dylan Mortensen, saying she's a victim. How dare you, Nika? You have no empathy. No, I have empathy. I have empathy for the victims. And we don't have empathy for anybody else until they have been completely cleared. Okay? Reserve your empathy for the dead.
Wow. Okay. Well, you do know that Dylan and Bethany have been cleared. Okay. You do know that Jack S was cleared. You know that Jack D was cleared. But you're saying reserve your empathy for those that have been cleared and then the dead. But you know what? You're a hypocrite because you don't have any empathy for the victims. I've watched you pick the most provocative photos of Kaylee and Maddie that you can find out there and post them as your thumbnails to get clicks and views, and then proceed to turn around and get upset that men objectify women, but then turn around and say that Kaylee and Maddie shouldn't have dressed like that, and that they may have been sugar babies or had OnlyFans or had cameras in the house to be camera girls, and that could have led to their death. Okay, that's not having empathy for the victims. That's definitely not having respect for the victims to use their pictures like that to say salacious things because you know it's going to get you viewers, right? And then you say that you don't have empathy for anybody else but the victims, but yet you have tons of empathy for Kohberger, and you get mad at the people that think Kohberger's guilty and that have empathy for not only the victims, but the surviving roommates, the family members, the friends of the victims, okay? You're a hypocrite. And it's really sad also to see this internal misogyny like that from a woman. You remind me of the women that blame other women for what they were wearing, causing them to get raped. Okay? A woman can wear what she wants. And that doesn't mean somebody has the right to attack or murder them. Those 4 students did nothing to cause their murders, nothing. And their parents did nothing to cause their murders. Not Kara, not Steve, not Maddie's stepmom, nothing. So anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest because I was seriously in tears the other day about how content creators have been treating these young people. So if you don't like this video, that's fine. I'm sure you guys will leave your comments. And as usual, if there's something you want me to cover, let me know.